well, to some other stories, and the expectations of Ghanaians of the incoming administration are high. The NPP government has been criticized for economic mismanagement, failing to tackle corruption and illegal mining issues. Today, we delve into the expectations of environmental CSOs on the NDC's government's proposed fight against galamsey. Joining me on Zoom right now is Awula Serwah, convener of Eco-Conscious Citizens. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us here on Newsbeat. First and foremost, where should the incoming government begin in the fight against illegal mining? What really are your proposals to President-elect John Mahama?
Actually, if it hasn't been done by the time he takes office, there should be a state of emergency or executive order. Look at the images you are showing, to go to our forest reserves and water bodies and remove all miners and all equipment from our forest reserves and our water bodies. There should also be a pause on community mining, small-scale mining, whatever you want to call it, because we are unable to monitor. Even the big mining companies, we are unable to monitor them. And then the revocation of EI 144 and LI 2462, which allows for mining in forest reserves and globally significant biodiversity areas, should be completed. The NDC has an overwhelming majority, and this can be done almost immediately, the repeal of LI 2462. And let me say this, over the past 1 month that we've refused to deal with the situation, there has been devastation in our evergreen forest reserves in the Ashanti region. What has happened is simply appalling because we refuse to deal with the problem. There's ecocide going on. We face an existential threat. We are also asking that all those named in Professor Frimpong Boateng's report should be investigated, where they are found to be culpable, prosecuted, and any assets they have should be sold and used towards the reclamation of our forest reserves. We have to use the polluter pays principle. And I have to say here that last year, the NDC had a press conference led by Honorable Rashid Pelpo, and they indicated that they agreed with our proposals and that they were going to implement them. So let's see what happens now that they have an overwhelming majority.
I'm sure you must have gone through the manifesto with regards to what they will do about illegal mining. So these expectations, how soon do you want the president-elect to get to work with regards to them?
There's nothing stopping the president-elect from starting immediately. Even the current president, he's still president till 7th January. He can redeem his presidency, redeem the promise he made to put his presidency on the line regarding our environmental situation by stopping mining in forest reserves and our water bodies. He can still do that. He can still see to, the redemption of the promise he made. But for the new government, they have absolutely no reason not to stop the canker going on. And we face an existential threat. In the galamsey areas, we have an increase in kidney disease, stillbirths, maternal death. And we must know that the water we are drinking is not safe. We must realize that the tubers we are consuming, do you know where they are coming from? Recently, tubers and plantain were found to contain mercury. So we face an existential threat. The food chain is compromised. And then there's also a national security threat where you have armed thugs preventing even forestry professionals from going to the forest reserves to monitor. So in this kind of situation, it's very urgent that we declare a state of emergency, secure our forest reserves and water bodies. Water is life. If our waters are poisoned, what are we going to do? Import water? Of course not. We need to stop the poisoning taking place. So I'm saying that the transitional government can act now, and the new government has absolutely no excuse not to act immediately to stop this canker, because we are all going to be poisoned to death if it continues.
And I'm sure for you as environmental CSOs, you'll be keenly watching all the moves by the new government with respect to fighting illegal mining.
Absolutely. We see whether it was mere promises they made or whether they mean to keep them. Nobody is getting a free pass. The current administration, the past administration, nobody is getting the free pass. But we are watching very closely, and we are saying that the state of emergency should have been declared yesterday. It hasn't been declared yet. It should be declared, and we should pause community mining because our monitoring is virtually non-existent. we don't enforce. Even noise pollution laws, we are unable to enforce. Even to stop open burning, because we know that air pollution is killing Ghanaians. We can't even enforce. So how are we going to enforce and ensure that the small-scale miners, there are thousands and thousands of them, keep to the parameters of their license? It's precisely because we cannot do that we need to pause until we can get our act together. Because in the meantime, Ghanaians are being poisoned. And we will not forgive anybody who has been presiding over the poisoning of Ghanaians. God is not mocked, and he'll hold everybody who has been supervising the poisoning of Ghanaians accountable for what is taking place.
Well, finally, a few months ago, a lot of Ghanaians registered their displeasure about what was going on. Then the elections came in. What are your expectations of Ghanaians also to make sure that they keep on piling pressure on the government that is coming in so that these things that we're talking about would actually take place?
Absolutely. If within the next 15 days after the new government has come to pass, that is, if the current administration hasn't dealt with it, they don't repeal LI 2462, don't pause community mining, don't pass an executive instrument or state of emergency to clear our forest reserves and water bodies of the canker that is going on, then Ghanaians will hit the streets or should hit the streets, or organized labor might wake up from its slumber and declare a general strike. Because what is going on is killing not just us, but coming generations. Look at what is going on. A lot of water bodies take their source from our forest reserves. We know that our forests are our lungs. So we are destroying our lungs. We are poisoning our water, poisoning our soil, so that the food we are eating is compromised. And remember, when the water is transparent, it doesn't mean that there's no arsenic or mercury in it, because that's colorless. And Ghana water does not pretend to be removing the toxins from the water. Okay. All they remove is the sediment that stops the water from looking brown. So Ghanaians should be on notice that those who can't afford to buy, let's say, mineral water, maybe Belacqua or others, those who can't afford to do reverse osmosis, we are being poisoned. The water we are cooking with, the water we are brushing our teeth with, the water we are bathing with could be poisoned. Okay. And poison can also enter the body through the pores. So we shouldn't think it doesn't affect us. We should all rise up and ensure that if the current administration hasn't done the needful, the new administration, who has an overwhelming mandate, should do so within the next 15 days of their coming to power. Otherwise, we can hit the streets or call a national strike.
Great. Thank you very much, Awula Serwah. She's the founder of Eco-Conscious Citizens, talking about the expectations from the John Mahama-led administration.